Guys, welcome back. We're talking about the Rush World Tour, the 50 Something Tour. I've been thinking to myself, okay, what will the set list be like? And then I thought to myself, what are some of the toughest songs, the hardest songs, the most difficult, complicated Rush songs? I have a new book. And in this new book, I have scores, the actual musical notation for a bunch of Rush songs, all the way from Working Man to The Garden. What are the hardest songs that Annika, Geddy, and Alex are going to have to practice, learn again, and play for the 50 something world tour? Guys, I'm Eric. This is the Loudboy Experience. And let's go. This list is very appropriately starts with 2112. 2112 was basically the song that made me a Rush fan almost 40 years ago. 2112 changed my life. It broadened my perspective. It made me appreciate what music could be, more importantly, what rock music could be, should be. 2112 did that to 2112. The actual song, that 20-minute masterpiece, changed my life, as I'm sure it did so many of you as well. So let's take a look at it. In 2112, we just start off in 4/4 time. Okay, and it goes along. And this is the overture of 2112. And it sticks in 4/4, and you guys know how it starts off. The big bombastic overture where they're introducing all the, and then it gets more complicated, right? You can see the rhythms, right? These 16th note, these 8th notes that Geddy and Alex are playing, and then the drum parts as well. You can see them going through here. Now, back here, it was in, I think, the key of C. It changes to another key here, okay? And we're still in, actually, the key of G. It changed, okay, and then we're still in the overture. That was part C. Over here, we're still in this key, still, okay, dun, 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 dun. You guys know how it goes, overture, overture, overture. And then we have another key change. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, and keep going here, and key change. What I'm trying to find right here are some of the actual time signature changes. So 2112 is definitely going to be one of the more complicated songs that they're going to have to play. That was the overture. This is Temples of Syrinx. This starts off in 4/4 time. You guys know how it goes. 4/4 time. You can see the notes here. Okay. And then finally, right here, at this measure, we've taken care of everything. The words you read, the songs you sing, the pictures that give pleasure to your eye. Never need to. All right, so yeah, okay, so there's going through, and we're still in that key, still in that key, still in 4/4 time, still in 4/4 time. This is Temple of Syrinx. And now over here, okay, what's the last lyric you see? Yes, all right, within these walls. So right after he says walls, you come up to here, and then basically, yes, this switches over to 3/4 time. Down, yep. Look around the world we've made, equality or stock and trade. Come enjoy the brotherhood of men. Okay, and then we've switched keys again, and then we switch keys again here. Okay. In the lyrics, okay. Here we go. We are the priests of the temples of Syrinx, our great computers in the hallowed walls. Okay, and then we key, and then we're back to 4/4 time here. Dun, dun. Okay, so 2112. Just the song itself, okay? We only saw like 3/4 in there. We saw 4/4. We saw two different key changes at least. I saw a C, and I think that was a key of G. But you know what 2112 is, and that's the beauty of kind of trying to think of what are the more complicated, what are the more hard songs for them to play live. And I think 2112, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. The next one on our list is Xanadu. Tell me, guys, when I ask that question, what songs can you think that would be difficult to play? What are these harder songs? I bet you Xanadu came to mind, right? And it should. It starts off with 4 sharps. It starts off in 4/4 time. Okay. Of course, we have the little musical interlude here. Right here changes to 3/4. changes to 3/4 time, and then to 7/4 time for 2 measures, 4 measures, 6 measures. We're still in 7/4, still in 7/4. 6 or 8 measures later, and then okay, so that was about 10 to 12 measures, bars of music, and then boom, back to 4/4 time, same key, same key. Here we go. We're still just doing the musical part of Xanadu, right? We're still just building up to where the lyrics finally cut in. And I believe we're still in, 4/4 time. And then boom, 7/4 time here. Okay? Okay, we're rocking 7/4. And just check out the notes. Check out these notes, okay? Meaning there's a lot of them, and everyone's playing quite quickly together. Again, ups the difficulty level, doesn't it? It makes it a little bit harder to play. Coming down to this one. And so we have any lyrics yet? No, we don't. And then check this out. Check this out. And see what time are we in? We are still in, we're still in 7/4. Okay, so all this is played in 7/4. 7/4. These measures, and then okay, same thing. Okay, then and then drums there. Okay, drums. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, now moving over. I'm trying to find the lyrics part here. Seek the river to walk the gates of ice. I will dine on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. Okay, so anyway, you can see the same key. Okay? I hope you're enjoying just taking a look at the sheet music. All right? That's why I'm kind of taking my time with this. Because, all right, now here's where we switch to, this is switching to 6/4 time, which is the deepest mysteries. From the book. Okay, yeah. So okay, lyrics are still going. We are in 6/4, 6/4, and then over here, 6/4. But hold on, this is because that was 6/4. I think we switched somewhere. Yeah, there we go. There's a 4/4. All right, so it's 6/4, one measure of 4/4, back to 6/4, all the way through 6/4. This is 6/4. This was just so cool. In high school, I had a band in high school. I had a band in college, right? Our own rock band. And we'd go to the music store, and my friends would need to pick up stuff for their guitars, strings and getting all that equipment. Or we might need to rent some equipment to do a gig. Well, of course, when I'm looking through, if this is a music store that does sales and rentals, you can imagine the sheet music is astronomically high. But, of course, I found a couple Rush books with a few songs in them, and I'm pretty sure I bought it. Probably overpaid for a little Rush tab book with tabs and music in it, and I probably paid $20 for like 4 songs, but I had to have it, right? So that's long lost to history. I have no idea where that is now. However, speeding up to now, when I saw this book, I'm like, because here together we have discussed Rush music, and we've talked about the nuts and bolts of Rush music a few times. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to actually look at the Rush music? And see, same key. Okay, good. Just following along here. All right, here's the interlude. Okay. And I believe we're still in 6/4 time. And we did change keys along the way, by the way. Right here at the end of this page, okay? 2 sharps to back to 4 sharps. Yep. Still rocking. There's a time. And let's see, looking for another time signature change. Meanwhile, lyrically, all right, that's the years passing them by. Now, on this page, 6/4, 4/4. All right, so there's that pattern again. 6/4, 4/4, 2 more measures of 4/4. Okay, so 6/4 to 3 measures of 4/4. 4 or 5 measures. Okay, this is all 4/4. And then somewhere, okay, and then switches back to 6/4 here for a measure, and then boom, 4/4, and then 6/4. So measure to measure, look at this, 6/4, next measure 4/4, and the next measure 6/4, and then 4/4. I guess 10/4, 10/4, good buddy, would have been too difficult, but yes, measure by measure, they're switching time signatures. And of course, playing along with this, that doesn't necessarily mean it's more difficult to play. However, it does add to the complicated nature of the rhythms and how the melody is working, stuff like that, just musically how it's going. That was Xanadu. Just looking at the music on these pages, you know it's going to be more difficult to play than the others. And isn't it interesting that when you think of those songs that are harder to play, are difficult, that took Rush forever to record, that which song was it? I think Hemispheres, right? They wanted to record it through one pass and one, but then they had to break it up into parts. That just proves how complicated, how much Rush was pushing themselves at the time in which they wrote it. Well, when you think of these songs, okay, the more complicated, grandiose, longer, progressive songs that Rush has written, aren't those some of your favorites? Right? By default, they seem. And speaking of, we looked at 2112, we looked at Xanadu. This is the Strange House. This is Villa Strangiato. We're looking at 3/4 time, and then boom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, several measures, and then boom, it switches to 2/4. Okay, so it's 2/4 time. Down here, 4/4 time. We're just barely into the song at this point. So 4/4 rocking through this page right here. Okay. Again, this is like the beginning of Villa. Okay, and then here's the Strangiato theme starting on this page. Looks like we're in the key, we're in C, and then it changes keys here. Okay. Changes keys, same key, same key, same time, same time. Not too difficult. You can see the drums are a little bit more active than both the bass and guitars up here. These are the drum parts. Okay. Same key, same time. Okay. Switching pages here. Let's see. Down to, okay. All right. Now, when things start to kick off, this part's called A Lurkst in the Wonderland. And a Lurkst in Wonderland. And basically, boom, key change and switching to 7/4 time. 7/4 all the way through here. Okay. Alex is doing his magic. Man, the solo in Villa, right? So beautiful. Just shows you what a great guitar player Alex is. Beautiful stuff, Villa. When my dad was introduced to Villa Strangiato, he couldn't get enough of it. And that's all I heard about day and night. And he would go onto YouTube and he would watch the videos and just over and over, he'd play the CD that I gave him for his truck. And then he discovers the song that we did before that, he discovered Xanadu. And Xanadu was my dad's focus, right? He couldn't get enough Xanadu, and I can't blame him. Both songs are incredible. Man, Rush wrote some brilliant music back in the day. And my goodness, to say back in the day, right? At this point, we are now, what, 11, 12 years outside of the release of Clockwork Angels. Isn't that mind-blowing that it's been that long since Clockwork Angels was released? Was it 2021? It was 2012. I keep wanting to say 2112. Gee, I wonder why. But yes, back in 2012 was Clockwork Angels, their last album. And even then, we're a decade out from that at this point. Crazy to think about. So we had a key change for this section of the song. We're switching to 4/4 time here. Scooting on down. You can check out what the guys are playing, right? A lot of these are all chords, okay? Bass, chords, drums, and Alex is a lot more active, of course, in this section now. 4/4 time, 3/4, 4/4. So that was basically out of 4 measures, it switched times 3 times, 3 to 4 to 3. Unless you're looking at the sheet music and looking at this laid out, okay? The actual Rush music, we know kind of what it is. And if you guys play guitar, you might play bass, you play drums, so you have an idea, right? Of what key it's in. You know what chords are in that and how they fit in within that key. And you drummers who play along to Rush, we figure out what time it's in. That's fine. I love getting this macro view, right? We're pulling down from up here and we're seeing the entire book. This waltz is in 9/8 instead of your usual 6/8. Dude, that's a 9/8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yep. Yeah, that's 9. Okay, so the eighth note gets the beat, and there's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yep. So that's a 9/8. Of course, 6/8 or anything like that is normally a waltz, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's normally like your waltz kind of pattern, your waltz rhythm. Down here, we are switching to 6/8. 12/8. Yeah, Livia. Oh. Such good stuff. Back to the Strangiato theme, starting it here at the top. And did we have a key change? We did. Key change happened after here. We had those time changes, and boom, key change right here. Never turn your back on the monster. Okay, so key change there. Moving on to this section for the Strangiato theme. We're keeping that key, okay, all the way through here. And finally, the last part of Villa Strangiato is called A Farewell to Kings. It is slightly slower at 144. And then it goes down to 138. That's, how fast it is. And then we've got a 4/4 measure here, 7/8 here, right? There you go. That is La Villa Strangiato. The next one we have, of course, guys, think about what songs are more complicated. You might think of Jacob's Ladder. This is Jacob's Ladder. Words and music by Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, Neil Peart. Here we go. We're starting off in 5/4. All right, 5 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's only for one measure, and then switches to 6/4. And then to 5/4, and then to 6/4, 5/4, 6/4. I guess I just didn't want to do 11/4, right? Could have been. So yeah, 5/4, 6/4, 5/4, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Dude, that's the beginning of Jacob's Ladder, right? Check it out. It is in the same key during all of that. Yes, it is. Back and forth, 5/4, 6/4, 5, and then we go to 4/4 for the verse. The clouds prepare for battle in the dark and brooding silence. Okay, that section of the song. All right, we switch to a straight up 4/4. Dun, all right. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so now what key are we in? All right, same key, same key. 6/4, 4/4. Okay, this is a slightly slower section after that. Distant overture. Yeah, so there's 4/4. Down, 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 down. By the way, Jacob's Ladder, right? A lot of those rhythms, I truly believe that Jacob's Ladder, all right, the rhythms, the percussion, that I truly believe that inspired so many like more modern metal bands. You think Metallica, Megadeth, in these bands, right? Metallica, Kurt Hammond is a huge Rush fan, and that kind of that is so metal. And yet it's done in a very Rushian way, but I just know this influenced so many bands out there in the music that came after in the whole metal scene. Now down here, 5/4. Da 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 da. Yep. So that's the part right there. Da 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 da. Yep. All right, so and that's all in 5/4. Okay, well hold on a second here. 5/4. We switch to 6/4. 5/4. Yeah, Jacob's Ladder. Again, I think of my favorite songs, and they tend to be, right? We harken back to the 70s. We harken back to the early 80s in these complex mega songs that Rush wrote. And clearly, but these were some of the harder songs, the more complicated, more in-depth and challenging songs. They seem to go hand in glove. 5/4, 6/4, 5/4, back and forth there. Same key again. 6/4 down to 5/4. For these measures. Love it. 5/4, 6/4, 5/4. Back and forth and back and forth. I guess I just didn't want to do 11/4. The last time I'll make that joke. So 5/4, okay. Is that 3/4? Yes. Okay, so we're switching to 3/4 here. 3/4, 7/8, 3/4, 7/8. 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, kind of like we did at the beginning of the song. The other one, I see, back and forth, 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8 back and forth, 3 4 7 8 3 4. Dude, all of this, one measure of each, one measure of each, back and forth, 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8. Same thing all the way through this section. Still continuing. One measure of each. 3 4 7 8 3 4 7 8. Okay? Same back and forth. Same thing. And then to a 4 4, which takes us through here. Follow men's eyes as they look to the skies. The shifting clouds of... All right, so this is, yes, the final part. Patterns of the dreams. All right, so yeah, they're okay, good. All right, yeah. Boom, down to 5 4 6 4, taking us on out. Dude, Jabob freaking louder. So good. This list would not be complete without Natural Science. And you guys, you know I've mentioned this many times, that Natural Science it's my favorite Rush song. If I had to pick one, it would be Natural Science, for the music, for the multiple parts, for the structure of it, but also lyrically, thematically, tonally, and talking about these universal truths that were just as relevant then as they are now and will continue to be, about integrity and honesty and art as expression, not as market campaigns. I love these themes, but also that rhythm of the bass in like the hyperspace section. Brilliant. You know, when we had my rock band in college, my bass player Will played a white Rickenbacker bass, much like Geddy used to play. And when he played that for me, right, I lost my mind. And I knew, like, you are my bass player. Like, I was sold forever. Of course, Joel and guitar and me singing, we were already huge Rush fans, but bringing Will into the fold, into our little family of Goat Meal, that's the name of our band. Him on his white Rickenbacker playing Natural Science just perfectly. When I mentioned back even in college, this was like 30 years ago, I'm like, do you know Natural Science? He just played it. I'm like, holy crap. It was a great moment. And I still get excited. I still get excited about this. So yes, guys, Natural Science. You know, when the ebbing tide retreats along the rocky shoreline, it leaves a trail of tidal pools in a short-lived galaxy. So that's this section right here. It is in 4/4 time. It is in that key, 2 sharps, and then it switches keys right here. Switches keys again here. And that was just several measures, right? And then boom, switches keys, and then down here, switches keys again. Same key, these 4 measures, same key, same time, by the way. And then here, switching time, 3 4. 1 measure of that, 4 4. 2 measures of that, 2 is 7 8. And then 7 8 through here. Yeah, this is the part. This is hyperspace. All right, so these. All right, that is hyperspace. You guys know it well. And let's see. We also switch keys for this section. Now, after these measures here, okay, it goes to this part. 2 4. 1 measure of that. 2 7 8. What was I saying? The more complicated, insanely boggle the mind songs are my favorite Rush songs. Why is that? I think it's because I appreciate brilliance. I appreciate intelligence. I appreciate hard work and genius. Do you? Yeah, I bet you do. And they are most beautifully represented in these songs. I'm not knocking any of the modern, slower, or shorter Rush songs, not in the slightest. But these songs were brilliant. This song in particular, during the time of Permanent Waves, going into Moving Pictures, it was that transitional period. That transition from our Hemispheres and our 2112s and all those albums, all right? The insane albums of the 70s, Rush transitioned with Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures into, quote, modern music. But this song is like a legacy piece. And I truly believe Natural Science bridges the gap. okay? From your hemispheres in your 2112, all right? From your Xanadu, from these songs. Now, and then a more modern, more compact, concise, if you will, music that Rush began to write, that modern era, if you will. This song bridged that gap. It has both worlds in it. And after the 2, 4, and 7, 8, it keeps going. You can see all these 8th and these 16th notes here. As we progress through the song, it switches to 4, 4 here, and so on. Moving down through, things start to get crazy through here. And we're still in 4/4, still in the same key. We switch keys again here, through these measures, switch keys again here. And same key, same time. Same time. Yep. And then same key, switch keys again here. This is part 3, permanent waves. Into part 3, we have switched keys. We are maintaining the same time, I believe, except for after these measures here, we switch to a 6/4 time. Science like nature must also be tamed. Yep. Okay, we've switched to that. And at the end of this, we're switching to 12/8. Yep, so we're in 12/8, but then again, we go to 6/4 at the end of this. 6/4 here, back to 12/8. Going to 12/8. Key change here at the bottom. We switch keys, and then along with switching keys, we've gone to 4/4. Oh, love this song. All right, so we're going to 4/4, and then I'm going to fanboying to 6/4. Okay, down to 12/8 to 6/4 to 12/8 to 4/4, and see. So switching keys here. Okay, when it switches to 4/4, it switches keys again, and then it goes on and on and on. See, same key, same time, except at the bottom of this, we're switching to 6/4, and when we do that, we're switching keys again. I love this song. Now, and then back to 12/8, same key, and then we're switching to 6/4 through these measures, back to 12/8 to 4/4. 4/4, and then 12/8 for these measures here. And see, same key, yep, same key. And then we switch keys again here. Chorus. Wave after wave, flow in the tide, and bury the world as it done. Time after time we lose thought of the way. All right, so let's see, same key, switching keys there, switching keys here. Going through, and then we go to 6/8, 12/8. Natural Science is bonkers. You know, this is one of the first songs that came to mind. One easily came to mind was Natural Science. Crazy, amazing stuff. Yeah, it's my favorite song. And just reading through this with you, it's like, check. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite Rush song, Tom Sawyer. This song is not, 12, 13, 20 minutes long, but this song, though, is quite complicated. Neil always said that he knew and felt like, Tom Sawyer was always a challenge for him. It never got old. We start off in 4/4 time through this page. Still in 4/4. Same key. All right. The beginning of Tom Sawyer. Da 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 da. Try to see. Here we go. What you say about his company is what you say about society. All right, so that's where this section is right here. This is that's called the pre-chorus, and we're still in the same key. Still catch the time, and then the river. All right, so same key. But just because we've maintained the same key in the same time throughout all these measures, it doesn't mean that it's not difficult to play. It's very difficult to play Neil's rhythms and what he does with his part in the song. Same key, but we're switching to 7/8 for the interlude. Okay, right down there at the bottom. We're in 7/8. We're in the same key, 7/8, 7/8, all the way through here. Down here at the bottom, we have a measure of 7/16, a measure of 3/8, back to 7/8, same key, This is 7/8. This is 7/16, 3/8, 7/8, back and forth. Love it. 7/16. This is the measure of 2/4. And it looks like it keeps it here. Yeah, see, let me count them. Oh, no, this is 4/4. No kidding. I was counting too many notes. Yeah, okay, so a measure of 2/4 to 4/4 for these. Okay, keep maintaining 4/4, 4/4 times, same key, same key, same key, 4/4 time all the way through here. Same key, same key. All right, and is that one? Nope, that's not. What you say about his company is what you say about society. Catch the spit. And then we get down here, and the world is. So in this section, we are still in that same. We rocking a 4/4, I think. Same time, okay. Same key. The world is. Love and life are deep. All right, so that's that section. Exit the warrior. Today's Sawyer. Okay, so we're in this section right here. And then, okay. Da, da. All right, so at the end of that, da, 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 and then it switches to 7/8 at that point, okay? And that's when the music starts, right? And then we got a 7/16, a 3/8, a 7/8, back to back to back to back. This one, 7/16, 3/8, 7/8, okay? 7/16, 3/8, 7/8, 7/16, 3/8, 7/8. Crazy stuff. So yes, Tom Sawyer, no wonder Neil enjoyed playing it because of the challenge it presented him to play this live. You know the very beginning of One Little Victory. This is after the Ghostwriter years. This is the return of Rush with Vapor Trails. The first track, the first song that they probably played on much of the tour for Vapor Trails, and probably R30. All right. So this song was important. Why? Neil's playing. It's just Neil at the beginning, right? You know that crazy kind of steam locomotive rhythm he's playing on his drum set. These are the notes for that. It's done at 4/4. Okay. This is just Neil. And then finally we get to this section. Okay. Still in 4/4. I wanted to point out One Little Victory because I can imagine, given that Neil is so tightly associated with this song, at least he is for me, and therefore I can imagine it's harder to play, probably for the sentimental reason for Alex and Geddy, but also Annika knowing the pressure that's been put upon her to get it right. We switched to 5/4 right here. Okay, we're rocking 5/4 time, 5/4 time. 5/4 all the way through here. Same key, 5/4 that I can see. I haven't seen any time changes yet. 5/4 all the way through. So I had no idea that this much of One Little Victory was in 5/4. I've never really bothered to count it. Or, it's just hidden well, but I didn't know that. And you can tag me in a comment, call me a dummy if you want. But did you? Did you know that a good swaths, big sections, movements of One Little Victory were in 5/4? Anyway, it's my fault. I just haven't counted it out, which is weird. Okay, so this is where it switches to 2/4 to 4/4. Okay, 4/4 through these measures. 4/4. Okay, the lyrics are going on through here. There's rockin' regular 4/4 through here. One Little Victory right there. One Little Victory. So he's singing that part. One Little Victory. Same key, same time. One Little Victory. All right. So, and then down here we switch to 3/4. Back to 4/4 for these measures. Same key, same key, same key. 4/4 here. So as you can see, not the most complicated song. And I have tried to play along with this with some success on my drum set. But yeah, so that's one little victory. Snakes and Arrows alone had 1, 2, 3 instrumentals on it, something like that. This is main monkey business. Right off the bat, okay, it looks like we're in the key of C, and we have a 7/4 for one measure to 6/4, 7/4, 6/4 to 4/4 time. Starting off quite nicely for the main monkey business. Okay, I think we're rocking 4/4 through here. Let me count. Yeah, that's a whole. Yep. So yeah, and then 2 halves. Yes. Okay, this is still 4/4, 4/4, and then in this section still 4/4 time. Okay. 4/4. That means we switched along the way. What did I miss? Yeah. They sneak them in at the end right here. They kind of hide them. Yeah. There's a 1 measure of 3/4. So this is all 4/4 all the way through here. Switches to 1 measure of 3/4, 2 4/4. Okay. 4/4 time, 4/4 time. Measure of 3/4. So let's count that. We got 3/4. Okay. 1 measure. And then 4/4 for 1, 2, 3. 1 of 3/4, and then 4/4 for 1, 2, 3. So 3 measures of 4/4, 1 measures of 3/4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4/4. 1 measures of 3/4. 1, 2, 3 of 4/4. 1 measure of 3/4. 4/4 for 3. That's what it's doing. That's the pattern. Okay. 3 measures of 4/4. Okay, so 12 total beats, and then 1 measure of 3 beats. 12, so yeah, look at, interesting. That's kind of cool. Pattern. And then changing times between them. Here we go. 4/4 for 3 measures, and then, okay, staying, wait, is there? Nope. All right, 4/4 through here, and we're still in the same key. However, right down here at the end, we have switched keys for this section, for section C of the song. Okay. We switched keys. It's a lovely key change. And then here we go. 7/4, 6/4, 4/4 for 2 measures. 4/4 all the way through here. Yep, that's 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 4/4 still. I'm just counting the beats because I can't see where it's notated, but yeah. So it's 4/4. Okay, so yeah, we're sticking to that 4/4 same. We've switched back to the key. Back to key is C, section F, and then down here, 4/4 for 3, 1 measure of 3/4. 4/4 for 3, 1 measure. We're back to this pattern. Back to this pattern. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Man, they've printed this so tiny that I'm having trouble just reading the lyrics. So we got a 3/4. We got a 4/4 for 2 measures. 3/4, 4/4 for 2 measures. A lot of this back and forth, right? And it's kind of hidden within the song, and that's the beauty of what Rush does musically, is that there could be multiple key changes, numerous time changes throughout a song, and yet, because of the melody and how things are constructed musically, there is a through line through it, to where you don't feel like you're being pushed and pulled into different keys and different times, right? Sometimes you can do that, but the way that it's written, though, you have a through line, like a musical narrative that takes you through, even though things are changing all along the way, right? You can just follow that one straight line. Count it if you want, but if you want that simple path, it's there for you to take. How's that for being overly poetic? It's late. Like One Little Victory, Caravan, first track on Clockwork Angels. More importantly, though, about a year-ish before, I remember so well. It was a big deal. 2011-ish, I think. They released, remember this? They released both Caravan and BU2B, right? Brought Up to Believe. BU2B and Caravan just out as singles, right? In preparation for Clockwork Angels. Bridging that gap between the Time Machine tour and that whole era. And we knew something new was coming, and then boom, here's 2 new songs. Okay. Well, Caravan comes out, and it was new. It was different. It was really special. It took a couple listens, though. Did you feel that too with some of the Clockwork Angel stuff, but especially Caravan, for me to fully wrap my mind around the music and the lyrics, but and truly get it, right? And I say this about TV shows, right? Like the new Daredevil is out, and I've already watched this first episode of season 2 twice. Enjoyed it immensely both times. I'm going to talk about it soon here on this channel, but I liken it to TV shows because the really good shows, I always encourage you to watch them at least twice. I did it with the new One Piece season. I've watched season 2 twice already. In a world lit only by fire. Okay, this is where the verse is starting. Watching the steamrollers roll by. Do 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 do. All right, man. So cool. All right, yeah. Down 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 down. Oh, I need to go listen to Caravan now. Okay, the Caravan's thunder onward. I'm just on way to the city. On my way at last. On my way at last. 3-4 4-4. 4-4. And by the way, we've gone from this key, but here they switched to I think that's key of F, right? One flat. They switched to key of F, 4-4 4-4 all the way through here. Same key, so we have a lovely key. Do 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 do. You know, there you can hear those key changes, and they're just beautiful. I love that part. This part of Caravan. So lovely. It switches to the very bottom of this page. It switches to 5-4, one measure, and then to 4-4 on the road lit only by fire. Caravan thunders onward, just a dream of the city where a young man has a chance to making good, a chance to break from the past. So meanwhile, while those lyrics are going, we have switched keys again. We did it back here. We switched keys. Okay, and I believe we're rocking the same time. Yep. And same key, same time, same bat channel, same bat place. Down here we got a 3-4. Okay. Break from the past. The Caravan thunders onward. On my way at last, on my way at last. And then right after that, on my way at last. All right. It's 3-4. Back to 4-4 time. 4-4, we switch keys again. When did we do that? How did that line up with the lyrics? On my way at last. So right when he's holding out that note, on my way at last, right after that, it switches time and keys. Yeah, which is so obvious, right? Because you have the whole steam train thing, right? Or the steamliner going, right? And then and then you have I can't stop thinking big. I can't stop thinking big. I can't stop. So this is in a completely different key, different time. I can't stop thinking big. In a world where I feel so small, I can't stop thinking big. Same key, except down here, 2 flats, and then to 3 flats here, all the way through the section to 2. Lots of key changes, man. And then we switch back to, was the key of G, all the way through here. Switch keys, same time, same bat channel, and then right here, same key, but we got a one measure of 2-4 to a measure of 4-4. Yeah, Caravan's a pretty darn complicated song, especially when you see it on paper. We got one measure of 5-4, we got a 4-4, we got a 4-4 all the way through here, and let's see. Oh yeah, all right, back here, one sharp. Okay, got that. But then we switch to this key. One flat key all the way through. I can't stop thinking big. I can't stop thinking big. Can't stop thinking big. I can't stop thinking big. No kidding. Just look at the notes on this page, guys. Look at them. In a world where I feel so small, I can't stop thinking big. 3-4, 4-4. We switch keys again. We should ride on out through the end. Yeah. Definitely. Caravan. Finally, here is the garden. I'm throwing this in here because, yeah, the garden is complicated in its own way. We are in 4-4. In one key. You know how it starts off kind of soft. In one of many possible worlds. All for the best. Or some kind of test. It is what it is, but whatever. Time is still the infinite jest. The arrow flies when you dream. The hours tick away. The cells tick away. And then basically, yeah, so key. But we have a key change here. Let's see, when did it happen? Yeah, right here. Okay, yeah, right when he starts the measure of love and respect. Yep. So is it? All right, so that same thing, and then we switch keys again during the interlude. As you can see this right here. All right, whole notes held over 2 measures into is it a key change? Nope, same key. You know, after you rock away at songs like Xanadu, or, you know, like A Farewell to Kings, 2112, Bastille Day, you know, like, you know, all these songs at La Villa Strangiato. After you rock so hard, okay, you're playing live, 3 hours, right? And it's just adrenaline, 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 right? So many notes, so fast. Okay, pure rock music just blaring ahead, but to turn it down, okay? Turn it down for the garden and to take your time to not speed, especially as a drummer. You know, Annika, you need to hold that back and you know, because and not rush the song. It's the only time where you don't want to rush the song is something like the garden, right? Where it needs to breathe. It needs to be at that tempo that they expected to be, that they wrote it for. So anyway, that is difficult. Okay? To go balls to the wall with so many songs and then you have something as peaceful and as beautiful as the garden, right? And to make that tonal switch, not easy to do. That's why. And just the sentimentality, the emotions wrapped in the song, this alone makes it extremely difficult song to deal with. Almost prophetic in a scary and very sad way because of what Neil talks about in the garden and the fact that he passed too soon thereafter. But we're blessed to have it. In the fullness of time, a garden to tend. You see, same key, same time. In the fullness of time, a garden to tend. In the fullness of time. And we do have a key change here. Okay? After he did it in the fullness of time during that section, a garden to tend. And then after he did that like 2 or 3 times, he does switch keys here. In the fullness of time. Right here. 2 measures. In the fullness of time, a garden to tender and protect. There's only two measures of this key. Switches keys again when it says in the middle of a word. And protect. All right, that garden to tend and protect. And then, all right, same key, taking us through probably pretty much right into the end. Yep. Same key, same time. And right on out. These are some of the songs that I think are more difficult, are the harder songs for Annika to learn and for Geddy and Alex to master once again, for Rush to play live on this world tour of the 50 Something Tour. I want to know what you think. Please tell me what songs, what have I missed? Do you agree with something? Do you disagree with something? Please leave a comment. Like this if you like it. And as always, subscribe. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.